Welcome to the BDO Wealth podcast series, Family Qs, guiding families through money moments. Life doesn't come with a manual, it comes with moments. Some bring joy, others bring challenge, but all of them shape our families, our futures, and our finances. At BDO Wealth, we recognize that financial planning is more than just the numbers. It's about making the most of everyday moments that have a financial impact on our lives. It's that delicate intersection of life and money. We call these LifeQs. They are life's turning points that prompt important financial choices. They might be career changes, family milestones, selling a business, or planning for retirement. And when these moments involve family, we call them family Qs, money moments that touch the people closest to us. We use LifeQs as a prompt to help South Africans make the right financial decisions when it matters most. Financial planning is about navigating life's transitions and making sure your money supports what matters most. In this series, you'll hear from BDO Wealth financial planners and the families they've supported. Personal conversations that show how thoughtful guidance can help turn difficult crossroads into meaningful opportunities. Let's dive into today's Family Q. Welcome, Shaun. Thanks for joining us today. Today's story is LifeQs at the Altar, building shared finances in a new marriage. It's a story about partnership, how couples navigate shared finances in a new marriage. Shaun, tell us, which family Q do you feel the story touches on most strongly?
Thanks very much for having me today, Ricardo. I really appreciate being here. So the story of James and Emily is what we would call a marriage life Q. It's that pivotal, emotionally charged moment where two people come together and they combine their financial lives. So this is a intersection of their financial habits that they've formed throughout their lives, and now they are combining them to start their own journey.
Great. And Shaun, this is a story about James and Emily. Describe their money habits and those differences that they had at the outset.
Emily has been a long-standing client, so she has quite a good financial context. And what we found is that she's a lot more structured and disciplined with her money habits. And we found that she really gets a lot more structure, and she feels a lot more security from managing her finances well. Whereas James felt more spontaneous, and he felt like money was there to be earned and spent, and for more enjoyment purposes. So that was really the contrast between their two financial habits at the outset.
Right. And how did this play out in their relationship?
So when it comes to money, it's a lot more than just the numbers. Money can have a lot of underlying beliefs, and it can really strike more deep things like trust and security instead of just having money on a spreadsheet. So the challenges that it brought to their relationship was that not that they couldn't manage finances together, but more that Emily felt, was she feeling secure in this relationship where her money partner wasn't working with her correctly.
Right.
And James was also feeling a little bit unsteady because he didn't know if he could trust Emily with the personal debt that he had come to take on in his finances.
Okay. And Shaun, what made them approach you for financial guidance?
So it first started off with a more candid conversation with Emily. So we were doing a review for her finances, and we started speaking about her future. And this is a pivotal moment in her financial planning, the marriage life Q. We decided that we were going to have a discussion on how we're going to start planning for finances for both of them. And she discussed with me that the financial money habits that she has were very different from her partner, James. And I said, well, let's just look and explore that a little bit more in depth. And if he's comfortable, why doesn't he come for a conversation as well? Because I could see that it was really playing a lot on her mind, the fact that they had different goals.
And how did you go about creating the space for this joint conversation?
So it was more of, I wanted to create a safe space for them instead of feeling more tense and not wanting to have this deep theoretical chat about money. So what I decided to do was rather tell them that I'm a guide for their money habits and not a judge. And I think that really made them feel more comfortable in the conversation. And what that got out of it is that James actually opened up about his personal finances, and he explored why he believes in a certain way and why he feels more spontaneous and why he took on this personal debt. And I think the fear that he had before, which was that Emily would judge him for this, it actually took a completely different route. With a little bit of guidance, they started working together on this problem. Instead of having my savings and your debt, it started becoming more of our challenge and how can we overcome this together.
That's wonderful. So what steps did you then take, Shaun, to get them to find this balance between being independent and yet having this partnership of money through marriage?
So it started off firstly with talking about how they actually wanted to get married, because they were firstly engaged when they came and spoke to me together. And it was a combination of they wanted to protect what they had already brought into the marriage, but then they also wanted to build their financial lives together. So we decided that the best way for them to get married was an antenuptial contract with the accrual. And this struck a great balance because now they can feel free to have their assets protected, what they're bringing in, and then whatever they building on is going to be shared. And I think that really aligned their values on how they can manage money together.
That is a good starting point, the marriage contract. Shaun, were there any other tools or, I guess, strategies that you found helped them take the next steps to align their financial goals?
Yeah, so it was also just a practical tool for them to use is when they were budgeting. So they had separate budgets at the outset, and what I guided them to do was to create a joint budget where they could share expenses. And it wasn't necessarily a 50-50 split. It was more a principle of whoever earns the most, they can contribute that portion to the shared budget. And it didn't take up their whole income. So that left them with the opportunity to buy the necessary expenses for the household. But with the spare money that they had, Emily could be her structured, disciplined self, and she could invest that money and save. And James, then he could take that money and he could be spontaneous with it. And he could look to use it for higher growth or other spontaneous activities that he enjoyed.
Sounds like quite an empowering way to build a financial plan together as a couple.
Definitely.
Shaun, what did they walk away with? What did James and Emily walk away with that actually strengthened how they looked at their relationship from a financial point of view?
I think it was quite a deep realization for them, because what they walked away with wasn't necessarily just financial tools to succeed better. I think they walked away with a lot more trust in each other and how they could now build on this financial life together. Because when you look at finances, it can reflect a lot of your values. And for them, I feel like they became aligned on what they wanted out of life together through this financial journey. And they could now trust each other and work with each other on these. And it gave them a real sense of teamwork.
Shaun, did you notice any shifts in how James and Emily communicated or made decisions together after they had consulted with you?
Definitely. So what happened was it actually turned what we saw as a source of stress into something more of a connection between them. So they were able to communicate more effectively on these issues that were deep and they couldn't really understand it that well. And through a bit of guidance and some financial education, they felt a lot more comfortable talking about not only this topic, but topics more on their values and what they want to achieve out of life together.
That's quite a powerful reflection, Shaun. If you just look forward now, having had this experience, what advice would you give couples starting out on this journey of marriage?
So I think for couples starting on this journey, it's a very complicated topic to discuss, and people are so busy planning the engagement and planning the marriage and the wedding that they forget the crucial step, which is the finances. And you are combining two different pasts. So I would say be vulnerable with each other and get started really early on the building your shared financial focus. And secondly, I would say to make it more of a team sport. So instead of having my savings and your debt and my investment plan, we should maybe focus on more having our shared vision for finances and what we want to achieve out of this. And then lastly, instead of having just spreadsheets and starting with budgets and a balance sheet, start with what you actually want to achieve out of life together, and then focus on making the right money decisions for that shared vision.
I think that's wonderful. Thank you for joining us for this episode of Family Cues, guiding families through money moments. Every story we share is a reminder that financial planning isn't just about numbers. It's about people. It's about helping families make decisions that feel right, that last, and that honor what matters most. At BDO Wealth, we guide you to make the most of your wealth, not just for today, but for every chapter in your life. Because when you plan for life's cues properly, you create a future that will be remembered for the right reasons. If this resonated with you, explore more at www.bdowealth.co.za and be sure to join us for the next episode in our Family Cues podcast series. BDO Wealth, your financial guide.